Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This week I'm back for a new video, and this time I have Ueberrest with his Bouncy Techno. You can check here the 2 tracks that I use as a reference if you want to. Also, you can get the project file in the link that you have in the description. Thank you so much for supporting the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing, and here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna first show you my kick bass group. This is the kick bass that I made. Pretty bouncy. Inside this group, I have 2 kind of group. I have the kick and the bass. I'm gonna first show you the kick. And on the whole group, the kick bass together, I have also some group processing. So I'm gonna withdraw this also, and I'm gonna show you every element. So first, I'll always start with a clean punch. So this is this main layer. Pretty standard punchy kind of trancy kick. Here I'm gonna keep only the sub, the bass, and the lower mids because I didn't like the transient. It eats really too much here in the high end, and I'm gonna add back some transient after this. So this is first this transient and this one. So here it's pretty subby, but I'm gonna boost it afterwards on the group processing. So here on this group processing is just saturating a little bit, clipping here, adding a bit of an amp for saturation. Of course, withdrawing here the resonances that are going to be boosted even more with some saturation here on the group. And here I make sure I don't clash with the bass, so I really want like a short, punchy kick. I also keep it in mono because I thought it was better. And then I'm gonna show you the bass. So regarding the bass, this is this sound that I made in Serum. So you can check my tutorial on reverse bass if you want to deep dive into how to make this kind of sound. But basically what you have to do first is automate the level of an oscillator here so that it creates that wumpy feeling. And instead of having like a very long reverse bass like this, you can here play with this to make it really like bouncy. So it really like comes quickly and it's almost disappear instantly. You can also create some different textures and movement in your reverse bass with some automation. So for instance, here I move a little bit here the position for this wavetable. I'm also using some FM synthesis and it really changes the sound. And I'm also playing here with the cutoff of the filter so that it moves also at the same time. Also, I have, of course, some distortion, a bit of dimension and reverb so that it creates something more wide. It's slight, but it's enough. And also, I have some OTT that really boosts the whole thing. I'm then adding another saturation that's gonna actually completely transform the sound. You can try different mode. This could work also if you want something more aggressive. Then I really want this bouncy feeling, so that's why I really cut off the high end. I make sure I have it properly sidechain, like this. And then I'm just using parallel compression here. So I'm just duplicating this channel. It's exactly the same bass, but here I'm just high passing this channel. And EQing is just to add back a bit of mid frequencies so that it feels more full. And that's pretty much it for this bass. And then everything is gonna be boosted. Of course, I need more highs, so this EQ is really for the tonal balance. But if you check here, it kind of glues everything here. I don't go 100%, otherwise it would be a bit too much. Here it's really for the tonal balance. Then I saturate again. Then OTT, which is really like the best thing. It really like compresses everything and makes everything more tight. And then finally a digital clipper. And I have also a few EQs here, which is basically just adjusting the frequencies and bringing a bit more mid-range here. Finally, just a color limiter, and I want also my bass to be really in the center. So that's why I use this bass mono. So this is my kick bass, and also at some time in the track, I'm adding another kind of Reese bass. It's more something like an Atmo or something that will add a bit more distortion and room and a great feeling to the track. So I'm actually using one of the Reese bass that I made for my tutorial, which is Reese bass 1, I guess. So it's really just saw wave detuned with some filter, some amp for distortion. I think it's exactly the same processing as this one, it's just duplicated. And here I'm kind of slowly ringing that bass, and it really adds a kind of movement and something very interesting. So that's pretty much it for my kick bass group, and I just have one more element that's gonna add a bit more ambience to my track, which is just a kind of perk or Foley here. It's not much, but it's just adding here a little something in the background. So just a perk, reverb, delay, very short, sidechain, and here. That's just it for this element. So now let's dive into the drums. So for the drums, I'm having lots of different layers. On the group, I just have my sidechain here to make sure it doesn't clash with the kick. And now let's dive into the different layers. So first one is my classic open hat. So I have this one. So I like this pattern. It really gives more groove and more speed to the track than just a regular open hat in the offbeat like this. So that's why I'm using this pattern. I think it adds something, really a nice groove. And then it's just about adjusting the attack so that it sits right with the track. I don't put any low mids here because it's going to be the space for the other elements, especially the melodies. I'm having a very short plate reverb, just EQing to make sure I don't have any resonances, and that's it for this open hat. Then I have a closed hi-hat that just adds also something in the background, more like an atmosphere. So basic 909, open hat. I try different pitch to see what fits better with my track. Then same thing, cutting that mid frequencies or lower mid frequencies, slight plate reverb, resonances. Next, I have a shaker that I use here, again to give a bit more groove. And you can see that in those drums I use a lot the offbeat because it's gonna emphasize even more the bouncy feeling, so it's very effective for this style. And here it's just a shaker. Again, I'm managing the compression with the faders here, making sure here it's only in the mids because it was too harsh. Slight plate reverb, resonances, and slight delay. Then I have another hat, which is stronger. This one is really in the offbeat. Pretty classic 909. I think it's the standard one from Ableton. But here I'm using compression here with the amplitude envelope. Also, I pitch it down. I thought it was better. And then just slight plate reverb, and that's it. Then I have another hi-hat. So I kind of found this in his track of Ueberrest, kind of using these hip-hop hats, very sharp and very short. So that's what I'm using here. Again, I'm emphasizing the offbeats and playing again with a different pitch to see what samples would be better for my track, and same reverb, nothing special. And finally I have a ride here, which is just a loop. Here it's to emphasize the kick, and it's pretty low in volume. I think he used that in one of his tracks here, and I kind of did the same here. Again, controlling here the tail with that compression, and that's it for the drums. I have just a final element here, which is a clap. And this one was made of 3 layers so that it feels full. So I have 808 basic clap here, again making it more sharp with that envelope here. Clipping, which is very interesting for the drums, hard clipping. Then a drum bass to make it more fat. And here I have a hull reverb. I have another one here, which is a snare. So I like to use the combination of a snare and a clap. It really brings that slappy feeling in the mid-range. And finally I have a 909. So these are very simple samples, but it's very effective to have something full and something that is punchy for my track. Reverb is also very important. Here it's very slight. It's just a mild room, and it's gonna add that feeling. And that's it for my drums. So next I have my harmonics. So I have a few layers for this. I have first melody that introduces my track. So this one is made out of a preset, which is a basic one from Serum. So I like to kind of try different presets and then tweak the different parameters, such as the filter or the sound wave distortion or whatever. It can bring new ideas, and I can find what sound would fit more the track. Here I wanted something with a square wave because I think he used that a lot in his tracks, Ueberrest. So I think here it was a square wave. I just added a bit of FM synthesis. It's just a plucky sound like this. I make it more tight with the OTT, adding a bit of variation with the flanger, then really cutting those mids. So you always have this kind of resonancy that needs to be cut here. Here I don't want the low mids because I have also the bass, which takes a lot of space, and it's gonna be muddy if I keep it. Just adding a bit more room with the delay. It feels more lively. And then I'm gonna bring slowly with that auto filter this melody and sidechain. So regarding the pattern, it's pretty simple. Again, I'm kind of emphasizing either the kick or the offbeat, and here I keep it simple with only like 4 or 5 notes. These are all into the scale F sharp minor. Here I'm using this as an intro, then I bring it up, add the breakdown, and then I use it back after the drop here. So next I have my main melody. So I think I'm kind of using the same kind of note as the intro melody. And again, emphasizing the kick or the offbeat. On all my melodies, I try to humanize as much as possible. So trying different setup and see what fits better. I also make randomization for my velocity so that it feels more natural and less robotic. Then it's just the same processing chain, and it's just a different preset. But again, I'm playing, I think this was a preset again from Serum. That is very simple. It's a BP thing. And I think I've added some wideness, unison to the square wave. I'm also playing with the unison at the drop. So basically in my intro and the break, I keep only one voice, and then I bring the unison to have something very wide for my drop. Like this. Again, I'm playing with the auto filter here, bring it slowly in the intro, and I'm also cutting a part of the pattern to not display everything, so the full movement. Here I just take the first part I keep that tension here, for instance. I could have put the full motion here, but I kept only this. It's kind of to create some tension. Then I bring up the tension with that auto filter. Everything is gonna be up. You have some reverb, you have some sweeps, risers, whatever. Then the drop, everything releases. So I lose all of my drums, and it's very effective because I only have my kick and my melody. So either you have to put everything and then everything is cut and you have only like one big element or a kick, or you can do the reverse. So make something very smooth and then boom, at the drop you have something very intense. So here, that's what I did. I'm also adding a pad, a kind of ethereal pad to my breakdown. So as you can see, I have a simple movement at first, then I'm bringing up the auto filter, I'm adding a new movement on the top with some higher notes until I reach a climax here just before the drop. And again, regarding this pad, this time it's some saw waves and it's something very simple. So just a chorus delay reverb and some big saw waves with unison. And then of course I'm adding my favorite reverb, which is amazing, and it adds that very wide and deep feeling to the track, especially in the breakdown. I just have a final layer here, which is a choir. And I'm actually using the same notes here, it's just a different preset. This time I'm using a preset from Ableton, which is driving choir male. Again, just making sure it's properly EQ'd. Here I have my melody, I have my bass, so there's no space here. It would be only mud if I keep this. So here it's really just the mids and the high end to make it very wide. Also, there's a huge reverb, so everything is in the background, so it's also a way to have more space. Put some things forward and put some other things in the background. And that's pretty much it for these harmonics. Finally, this vocal, these kind of chopped up vocals. So here's just a woo vocal. I'm playing with the pitch. I think it was less monotonous if I put +3 because this is in the key of my track, F sharp. And usually if you put +3 or +5, it's gonna add a bit more intensity and it's gonna be less monotonous than if everything is in the same note for the whole track. So that's why I do this. And then usual thing, it's delay reverb, but here I'm creating that stutter effect with this auto pad. So you put the phase to 0. It's gonna act like a sidechain, but I'm gonna sidechain light in 1/16. And it's gonna create that stutter effect. So that's it for this vocal. And finally, I just have 2 sweeps. Nothing special here, just some noise sweeps to bring down intensity. And again, EQing properly so that it leave some space to the other elements. So I guess that's it for this track, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Tell me what you think in the comments. I see you in the next one. Ciao.